Hello, this is Strange Aliens and welcome to a Save the World video. In this series I'm looking at some of the elementary elements of the game in a hope to sort of share some basic knowledge that I think most players should really be sort of very comfortable with. So, on with this episode. So what I want to cover in this particular episode is looking at how important is the power level of your gun. The reason this comes about is looking in chat and chatting in games, you tend to hear one of two things. You get players saying, I've got to trade, I've got to have the highest level gun, I can't be successful in any of my missions unless I've got really powerful guns. And that might be true in the very top end of the content of the game, but what I want to look at is whether that is really something that's very useful in sort of entry level zones like Stonewood and Plankerton. And then the second element that I want to also look at the same time is the players, low-level players, perhaps sort of power level 20 or so, who crop into level 70, 100 missions, and you ask them why they're in such a high mission, and they're like, I've got a really high gun, I can carry my weight, I'll be no trouble at all. And I want to address that as well, and just pass on some knowledge about sort of how important that gun power level really isn't compared to other aspects of the game. So for this experiment I'm going to be using my standard farming setup, which is Pathfinder Jess. So I've got no damage multipliers for guns in any way, so she's probably the worst damage focused troop. I shoot her for farming private missions, never farming public missions people, always private. But she won't have any sort of extra bonuses for the guns, and I'm running power level 65. As you can see, I've got pretty good levels of all the stats, and I've got all my survivor squads with a good range of mythic, legendary and epic survivors, so that's what's giving me power level 65 and fairly good stats across the board. Okay, so here's what I'm using as guns for these experiments. I've got two guns that I've leveled up just to show what's going on. So the first gun we've got is just a rare Razor assault rifle. I've leveled it up to level 10, which gives it power level 21, which is pretty much the max you could get it for a copper gun in Stonewood. So that's just going to give us a baseline just to see how much damage we are actually doing. And then the main gun that I want to be looking at is my Super Shredder. It's a level 22 there, power level 70. It's upgraded to Malachite, and it's the sniper rifle I'm using in Canny Valley at the moment, and we just want to see what damage that gun can do in different zones and with different setups, just to see sort of what the effect of that's going to have on our ability to play the game. So first off, we're heading into a Canny Valley power level 64 mission. So we're going to come in here and we're going to have a look at the two guns and see what they can do with my skills at this level. So we'll start with the Razor. So we're looking there, it's looking sort of 3,300 DPS, and it's going to be sort of a relatively good, powerful gun. And then the Shredder, it's looking pretty awesome in there, 7,333.7 DPS. So we're getting the maximum value out of those guns based on my current set of survivors and my fort stats, particularly my offense and my tech. Power level 64 mission. So we'll start off with the Razor gun, which is just a rare basic assault rifle. And we'll have a shoot at the laser eyes there, and we'll have a few shots, and we look like we're doing sort of 300 to 600 damage. I'm not particularly trying to crit or get headshots, but we're chucking out a reasonable amount of damage per shot as expected, but not really doing any harm. But we can see we are actually taking health off of them. Okay, and now with the Super Shredder, again on the laser eyes, and we'll fire off a few shots, and here we can see we're hitting a few lower ones, but mostly we're hitting around the 7,000 damage mark, which with a sniper rifle firing once a second at the DPS we've got, that's what we'd expect to be able to hit in this zone based on the stats we've been given for the weapon. Okay, now here we are down in a power level 19 Stonewood mission. So if there was any value to having really high level guns and using them in lower missions, we would expect that the Super Shredder would actually kick out a really high amount of damage equivalent to what we had in the first mission. And as you can see, it doesn't. It's less than 2,000, so it's only about a quarter of what the damage from the previous level was. And that's really the key learning from this, is actually when you move down a power level, your high level guns, their damage output scales down to the zone you're in. So actually whether that Super Shredder was a power 70 as it is or a power level 103, if you take it down to Stonewood, it's only going to kick out exactly the same amount of damage as the same gun at a power level 21 in Stonewood. So that really shows that there's no value trading for higher guns and using them in lower levels. You might as well just level up your own low level guns and use them. It's going to save you time and it's going to be quicker and more efficient. Okay, so first off, let's hit laser eyes with the rare assault rifle again. As you can see, we're doing less damage than we were doing in the higher level zone. We're only doing sort of about 150, which is about half what we were doing before, and that's mostly due to the fact that my stats are scaled down slightly as well in a lower level zone. So it's not only the weapon level, everything is scaled down just a little bit. Okay, and let's switch to the Super Shredder, and as you can see, that's only chucking out about 1900, 2000 damage, maybe a bit less. It's not hitting anywhere near as powerfully as it did in the other level, despite nothing else changing. And that's the point. I'm using a valuable malachite gun and actually getting no more damage out of it than I would if I was using a normal Stonewood level gun. Okay, so we've seen what happens when we take a really high level gun down into a low level zone. The damage output is reduced and we're really wasting the gun. But what about the case where you have a lower power level player coming up into higher power level missions and saying, I can carry my weight because I've got a really good gun. So what we're going to have to do for that is reduce our power level somewhat to make it to make us be able to simulate that. So I'm going to go through my survivor squads and I'm going to dump out a load of my survivors. Particularly I'm going to remove them from the offense and tech, which are the ones that deal with gun output. I'll keep the fortitude and resistance, so at least I've got a bit of shield and health, but I'll mainly cut down the things that we're doing, and that's going to bring me down to about power level 48. But in terms of offense and tech, I'll be down at the level of a sort of a late Stonewood, early Plankerton level player. Now, in theory, if gun level was really important and the most important skill in the game, it shouldn't matter that I've reduced all my offense and tech levels right the way down really low. I should still be able to go into a high level and my Super Shredder that was power level 70 should still be kicking out a massive amount of damage and being able to make me compete at the same level I was in the first clip we looked at. So let's jump into a mission and see what happens. So here we are backing our power level 64 mission, but with our significantly reduced survivor squad, so we've got lower things. Let's have a look at the guns. If we take a look at the Razor, previously when I was in power level 64, that was putting out about 3,300 DPS. Now it's only putting out 1,000 DPS, so actually even a rubbish gun isn't doing the same amount of damage with less quality survivors. If we go on to my Super Shredder, remember that was putting out over 7,000 DPS, and now it's only putting out 2,100. It was putting out 1,900 in Stonewood. So my really good gun that was really killing husks at this level, actually with my power level reduced, is pretty much doing no more damage than it would do when I was down in Stonewood with my good survivor stats. So here we are, taking those significantly reduced guns off into a power level 64 mission, which I am really underpowered for now. And when we kind of start hitting, here's a laser eyes, once we start hitting him, look, pretty much we're doing no damage to him at all. We're doing the same kind of level of damage we were doing to him down in Stonewood level. We're actually not harming him, his power's not going down, and I'm just going to die and die and die and make no contribution to this mission whatsoever. So hopefully from this we've learnt two things. Number one, that actually if you're in a low level zones like Stonewood and Plankton, trading and trying to get really high level guns is completely pointless, because if you're going to use them down in those zones, they'll be scaled down to the same level as any guns in that zone you can craft and level yourself. So you're better to spend the time leveling your own guns and crafting them yourself rather than trading. And secondly, we've learnt that if you're a low level player and you're trading to get high level guns and then going into high level missions that you're not leveled for and saying that you're able to contribute, you're not. Your guns won't get there. What you need to do to get your high power level and to get that damage output is complete the skill trees, complete the research trees, and fill your survivor squads and level them up. Gun power makes no effect if you're a low level player. It's only really important at the very end game when you've maxed everything out. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back again with some more tips and tricks in another episode.